going to start a minute early for a change. Mrs. Armstrong, Mr. Foray, and Mrs. Juan will not be able to attend tonight. They had business or personal reasons. If everybody could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Hopefully I don't fall over. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, the board met in executive session beforehand for some legal and personnel issues. Secretary correspondence, nothing tonight. CCIU report?
Yes. So the CCIU board met last Wednesday evening. It was a really long night. We had 2 executive sessions, the first of which was with the authority board. So I had an opportunity to work with Carol Palmaccio, and I was thrilled. Carol is our designee on that authority board. Purpose of that meeting was to discuss real estate. Second executive session happened after the meeting with the CCIU board, and it was for the purposes of discussing employment. So the synopsis of the directors meeting, board of directors meeting, in honor of School Director Recognition Month, the administration recognized all the board members for their continued support of the IU and its programs. The students made treat boxes, and they were presented to each board member as well as a certificate of appreciation. I have to tell you, the culinary arts kids decorated cupcakes like I have never seen before. Right off of Fifth Avenue, they were phenomenal. And they were great, because I ate 2 out of the 4 on the way home. They were really good.
We don't believe you unless you bring them back for everybody here.
In addition, which isn't on my report, but the veterinary students constructed bluebird boxes, and I got a bluebird box. And wood and metal students made me a phenomenal nameplate that has copper, my name's in copper, and it has a finish like you would not believe. So we're doing great things in our vocational technical schools. Mr. Chris Turtle of Airbon and Company presented an overview of the 2017-18 audit reports. And I will say that Mr. Libitsky and his team got an A++, same as Mr. Linderman gets. So that was really wonderful to sit through. Jamie Miller, representing the Downingtown Area School District, was administered the oath of office, and she is the newest CCIU board member and she replaces my colleague that I do miss, Bobby from Downingtown area. So we have a new board member there. Dr. O'Brien and Mary Curley, Director of Communications and Learning, gave an update on the strategic planning process currently underway. One of the organizational goals this year is to develop a vision for CCIU and education in Chester County through 2025. It's huge, this initiative. The strategic internal and external stakeholders, the process began in September and included a facilitator and 76 participants, consisting of both internal and external stakeholders. The strategic planning meetings were held throughout the fall, and as an outcome of those meetings, a SWOT analysis, needs assessment, and strategic planning maps were developed. Key areas were identified and goals and objectives were prioritized. These meetings are going to continue in February and March to finalize the plan, which will then be presented for first reading at our Board of Directors meeting in April. It's an unbelievable timeline and a really big initiative, but it is so exciting because of what all these stakeholder groups are bringing to the dialogue, so that's important. The Board of Directors acted on the following finance actions. We did accept the audit report, and we approved the long-range plan for buildings and facilities for 2019 through 2029. The CCIU Board of Directors approved its calendar, and we've approved all recommended personnel actions items, including routine terminations, resignations, retirements, nominations, changes in status, pay raises, and supplemental salaries. The next Board of Directors meeting will be held February the 20th. However, the board will meet in executive session on the 29th of January to further the discussions on how we will be replacing the executive director. And that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions? I did ask Dr. Willard if he may be willing to come and present to us. We've got something really cool at the Pickering campus. We were donated a full-size airplane, and it came to us in pieces. The CCIU had to work for almost a year through the regulatory commissions to get the necessary licensing to put it together. Somebody from aeronautics is going to oversee it, and they are getting it, it's been moved to the front now, so they're getting everything in line to be able to put this together. I was promised that I could go over and take pictures and look at it because I'm really into this project. I think it's great, an opportunity for these kids. It's just wonderful. So when they get rolling, I would hope that y'all would go with me on this and allow them to come in, because this is something that no other CCIU has, and I think that it's that exciting that it might be nice to see a presentation. And that's all I have for the CCIU.
All right, thank you. Legislative report, anything going on?
Yeah, there's no legislative report this month. We'll have our first meeting tomorrow evening out at the intermediate unit. So February will be the first official legislative meeting of the new year.
All right, and some of us had an opportunity to meet some of our legislators, our new legislators, the other day, or a couple weeks ago, at the IU. So it was nice to get introduced to all of the Dwayne's replacement and Mr. McGarrigle's replacement. So it was good to meet them and express some of our concerns of what's going on in the education world and what Harrisburg can do for us and not tell us what to do. So hopefully they'll listen in the future. So, all right, student council reports. So we'll have Katie Markley first, and if you guys want to come up to the podium over there. It won't bite you.
Good evening, and we are the KDM Service Council. Welcome. I'm Lily McCusker, and I'm the president of the KDM Service Council. Hi, I'm Natalie Payne, and I'm the KDM Vice President for Service Council. Hello, I'm Ethan Robb, and I'm the KDM Treasurer. Hello, I'm Nanzana Pagola, and I'm the KDM Secretary for Service Council. We really worked hard to kick off this school year. First, we joined with the Great Valley community and the Patriots Pride Parade to support our high school football team. During the month of October, Service Council coordinated a fundraiser effort for the UNICEF. We collected $651.53. KDM also participated in a fundraiser called the Color Run. All the students at KDM who registered got to run around on the track. Volunteers sprayed bright color on the participants. It was a really fun day, and we raised almost $20,000 for KDM. In November, the whole school participated in Mix It Up Day, which is basically when you sit with someone new at lunch. The idea behind Mix It Up Day was to help everyone meet new people and make new friends. The day was a great success and many of us made new friends. We are continuing this program every Friday. Then, in December, we traced and cut over 40 snowmen for each of the classrooms to decorate. These creative and colorful snowmen cover the walls of KDM. In addition, we started the Blizzard Chain of Kindness. Each student received a link for the chain. The students wrote a message of kindness on the link. The Service Council attached all the links into a kindness chain. We put them all around the school and in the hallways. We added giant snowflakes to complete the decorations. Keeping with the theme of kindness, Mrs. Davis, KDM's art teacher, with 3 other students from the Great Valley High School, painted the kindness mirror on the K-1 wing. In December, we also had a sing-along to start off winter break with a bang. Mrs. Seaton led all the grades into the sing-along. We even had a few teachers sing solos. KDM also participated in the Adopt a Family program for the Covenant Church. Our schools collected toys and games for families in need. The collection table was overflowing. This month, we started our project to prepare bag lunches for Safe Harbor in Chester County. Safe Harbor is a homeless shelter serving our community. We made inspirational notes to put in each bag. We will be preparing the lunches on February 7th and delivering them to the shelter. And finally, we started our pencilgram sale, which is organized by the 2nd graders at KDM. This project raises money for the East Whiteland Volunteer Fire Company. We write messages to our friends that get attached to the pencils. Then on Valentine's Day, we give them to each other. It's a great way to show we care. Thank you for listening and happy school board meeting appreciation. Thank you for listening and happy school board appreciation night.
Oh. Thank you guys very much. And I like that Mix It Up Day. You guys should do that more often. Everybody should learn to meet a new friend all the time, so that's a good idea. All right, middle school.
Good evening to the board, Dr. Speaker Palbinski, parents, teachers, and Great Valley community members. I'm Megan Ramick, the 8th grade student council president.
I'm Sophia Geibel, the 8th grade vice president. I'm Lauren Frederick, the 8th grade secretary.
I'm Mia Maslowski, the 8th grade treasurer.
I'm Mason Sigarnik, the 7th grade president. We attended the 82nd Annual Pennsylvania Association of Student Councils State Conference from November 8th to November 10th at Cedar Crest High School. We participated in leadership seminars and listened to keystone speakers. We also had the opportunity to interact with over 1,000 middle and high school student council members from across Pennsylvania. We were awarded as a Keystone Council, and Kate Bevick won the Dale Holly Award for her contribution at a summer leadership camp.
In December, we had the winter dance for 7th and 8th graders. We had a great turnout of 275 students, and we collected 50 canned food items for the local food bank. Everyone had a great time at the event. We would like to thank the PTO for providing the snacks for the dance.
On December 21st, we had our 7th annual Ugly Sweater Spirit Day. This year, we made it a competition judged by us officers. We had a great turnout this year, and we are all excited for next year. Also, on Friday, January 18th, we just had our Mother-Son Bingo night. The Mother-Son Bingo is for GVMS male students and their mothers. Prizes were given out to winners for various bingo competitions, and pizza and refreshments were provided. female reps helps work the activity to make sure it ran properly. This is always a huge turnout and a lot of fun hosting it.
Student Council is also hosting our 4th Chili Cook-Off at GVMS on February 1st from 6 to 8 p.m. The event is a Super Bowl theme, and there will be chili raffles, prizes, trivia, and entertainment games. Tickets will be on sale soon and will cost $5 for GVMS students and $10 for adults, and there will be more information for anyone who's hoping to attend on the website.
We're planning on having our father-daughter dance on April 5th. The father-daughter dance is always a good event, and both daughters and fathers always have a fun time on the dance floor. Male representatives of our student council are going to be working the activity to ensure that everyone is having a great time. We are expecting another big turnout this year. We have also continued to hold our monthly general council meetings. Our representatives can bring their ideas along with the ideas of our student body to help improve our council. The meetings are held every month and are always a great bonding time for our council.
The Ski and Snowboard Club will begin their seasons as well. They start their season with their trip to Montage Mountain on January 27th, and many more trips will continue until March.
The sports teams at the middle school have been very exciting so far, with the girls basketball team that just finished up their fantastic season. 8th grade went undefeated and 7th grade also did well. The boys basketball season is just beginning and the wrestling team is having a great season so far.
January is School Board Recognition Month, so thank you for all of the opportunities that you provide for the students of GVMS. We value all of the work that you do for the Great Valley community. Thank you for your time and have a great night.
All right, so if you students could all stay for like 15 more minutes, because we have a bunch of awards to give out to other students, and it's much more fun for those people when there's a full house to applaud them, so. And then also, I'm gonna have our high school representative tell you what's going on after that real quick at the high school, so. Recognition?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Mrs. Burrell's gonna step in and take my place for the pictures, because I'm not gonna stand.
Hi, I'm Sheila Startup. I teach art at the high school. Each year since 1993, the Great Valley School District has sponsored a competition to determine the card that the district will use to represent itself to the community for the holiday season. I give this assignment to my Graphic Design 1 students in October, which is always challenging because it's Halloween season and they want to make Halloween cards, but that's beside the point. They are charged with creating a design that is non-secular in theme and can only use 2 colors due to printing costs. I also encourage them to think beyond the traditional iconic holiday images. This year's card hits all that criteria and more. It is a well-balanced design of a holiday ornament with a wreath, border, and a ribbon. The card also illustrates the 2-color rule very creatively. This year, I had 46 graphic design students who submitted for the card design, and I'm proud of freshman Caitlin Goza. If you want to come up, Caitlin, for her beautiful winning design. Caitlin has a special talent when it comes to using the computer as an art tool, especially since she's a freshman. She's very patient, she's very careful. She considered the holiday card challenge an artistic one and never let the computer or the software hinder her. She took her time and looked very carefully at the balance of the color as well as the overall layout. I'm looking forward to having Caitlin for the next 4 years in graphic design, maybe some traditional art classes too. And is Patrick here? Patrick is here too. So Mrs. Rieger is not able to come, but Patrick McDermott, who I also have as a design student, she came up to my room today and we were talking a little bit about Patrick. So she and I, she wanted to share with you that it's her daughter's birthday and she does apologize for not being able to attend. She teaches creative writing and assigns the poem for the inside of the card also in October, which is challenging. She said that Patrick did not go for the traditional rhyme and that he really thought about it and used some very nice prose in his, I guess, I don't know what you call the inside, the prose. I don't want to use the word prose again. I'm not a creative writing teacher, but I will read to you what Patrick wrote because it is beautiful. A time to reflect on our progress, a time to gather with those we love, a time to show people how much we care, and a time to remember how much they care for us. For time is the greatest gift of all. So thank you, Patrick. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Good evening. Great Valley Middle School Student Council was recognized at the 82nd Annual Pennsylvania Association of Student Council State Conference in November. The Great Valley Middle School Student Council was one of 8 middle-level councils to receive the Keystone Council Award for Excellence in Leadership Development, Council Organization, Activities, Evaluation, Financial Procedures, Community Outreach, and Communication. The officers of the Great Valley Middle School Student Council will accept the recognition on behalf of the entire council. The officers are Lauren Frederick, Sophia Geibel, Amit Kashette, Mia Maslowski, Nadia Nemeth, Megan Ramick, Mason Stignarnik, and Gavin Source. Congratulations. In addition, Kate Bevick received the Dale Hawley Award, recognizing her as the outstanding delegate of the Pennsylvania Association of Student Council's Alvernia Advanced Blue Summer Leadership Camp, which is held in July. Congratulations, Kate.
Good evening. I'm Ann Search, and I'm the head of the math department at the middle school. The middle school consistently looks for opportunities for the students to compete in areas of their interests and strengths. Again, this year, the teachers of the math department and the gifted students work to make the participation in the MAA American Math Contest available to our students. We had about 30 7th and 8th graders choose to take this test. Allow me to give you some background. The American Mathematics Competitions are a series of examinations and curriculum materials that build problem-solving skills and mathematical knowledge in middle and high school students. 7 Great Valley Middle School students received recognition for their outstanding performance on the AMC math test. I'm not sure who all's here, so if you're here, please come forward. Aditya, an 8th grader, Aditya Pola, Ritesh Kodali, 7th grade, Stanley Shaw, 7th grade, and Lucas Ochis, 7th grade, earned bronze distinction. Owen Lee, 2nd place in grade, 7th grade, and a silver distinction, which meant that he was top 5% nationally. I'll give him a minute. Excellent. Harini Aparna in 8th grade, 2nd place in the grade, and silver distinction, again, top 5% nationally. And Dylan Zhu, a 7th grader, 1st place in his grade, gold distinction, top 1% nationally. So congratulations to those students.
Good evening, my name is Emily Close. I am the current head coach of the Great Valley Crew team. I have not seen Ava Cofield, I don't know if she's here. But so just to give you a little bit of a background of what we wanted to acknowledge tonight. Ava was one of the only returning varsity rowers, and she was put into a tough position being asked to race what is essentially 3 miles in a small boat by herself. And we're really proud that she ended up getting first and she won the event. So we wanted to give her some recognition tonight. It's really important for a team as small as ours to get that kind of recognition. So thank you for your time.
January, as was mentioned by our student council representatives, January is School Board Appreciation Month. And we appreciate everything that the school board members do throughout the year. But this is an opportunity for us to take a moment, pause, and really say thank you for the time, the many, many hours, and your relentless commitment to the Great Valley School District. It is so very appreciated, I know by me, but also by the many students who are here and the community members. As a very, very small token, our appreciation is a gift for each of you, and feel free to open it if you'd like, or you can hold it for a time that you'd feel more comfortable opening it. But hopefully now Mrs. Burrell can go to other meetings and share what she received from Great Valley.
I'm opening mine.
I'll take the hint.
So, and they are differentiated based upon what the board members may appreciate.
That's scary now.
Yeah. Yes. So,
Not that Brian Arnott is emotional, we're just more quiet.
So let me say that this truly, I love Great Valley, and I say it all the time with tears in my eyes. This really and truthfully is me. It's a key and a heart. Thank you. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate every minute that I've served this community. Thank you.
So, and thanks to them, and if we can give them a round of applause for all of the applause they give us.
You're welcome, and I have to say on behalf of the board, what's more thankful than anything is what we see in front of us, okay? It's all of you students doing great things, hearing about your meet and greets or your moving about and whatever you called it. What's going on in the middle school? Exactly, I mean, that's why we do this. It makes us feel good, so thank you. So one more thing before you leave is I'd like you to know what's going on in the high school, because she likes to have an audience too. And then you can take your parents and go home if you want, or you can stay for the entire meeting, which you probably won't, but thank you.
Hello. I'm afraid after all this, now my report's going to seem boring because I shared everything fun last week. There will be a student council meeting tomorrow, so I'll be able to provide updates from that next month. I anticipate it will be mostly about class fundraisers, and I think there's one for the senior class next Wednesday at PJ Willihan's. So everybody go. And besides that, it's basically just everyone at the high school getting ready for midterms later this week. And spoken from a true senior, we're looking forward to the second semester.
All right, thank you. So if you guys want to grab your parents and leave, you're welcome to do so now.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. All right, moving on. The next thing up is our superintendent's report, and this is about day 5 of our kindergarten update.
Yes, as was presented in the fall of this year, we, at the direction of the board, started the exploration of the possibility of the implementation of full-day kindergarten for the 2019-2020 school year. So at that point, a communication plan was implemented, and this is, I believe, the 5th presentation that we're having aligned to full-day kindergarten. Mr. Piquel and the other elementary principals, along with the kindergarten teachers, have been working tirelessly in gathering multiple resources under the direction of Dr. O'Toole and Ms. Beck, and it really has been a comprehensive exploration process. And I just want to say I am incredibly appreciative for the time and the dedication of all of our staff that they've put into not only looking at the research and the information that they can glean from what currently exists as well as what we currently do in Great Valley, but they took the time to visit some of our neighboring school districts to learn even more. So Mr. Piquel, if you'd like to share with us what you've learned.
Sounds good, thank you. And joining me tonight for this presentation is Jess Prostrek, Kelly DeMillion, Kim Colvin, 3 of our Great Valley kindergarten teachers. So as we look at the possible full-day program in Great Valley, it's not just necessarily about adding more curriculum to what we already have, but it's about allowing us to go deeper with the current curriculum that we have. And we would look in the current curriculum to find where would those natural places be that we can make this extension. Readers and Writers Workshop, Math and Focus, Science, Social Studies, and special areas. When we talk about developmental-based play, what are those curricular areas where we could add to the play-based learning? And that would be literacy, math, and social studies. Play-based learning is actively engaging the learner while providing instruction in essential academic skills. So basically, the teacher's presenting the skills to learn in math. The play-based learning would allow that student to put it into real-life situations. And you'll see later in the presentation whether that's the post office or a bakery and how they're adding numbers and subtracting numbers, and it's facilitated play done by an engaged teacher. It's just not the kids going off on their own. The support for the research in full-day kindergarten. Again, this is just a recap of some of the research that you saw in earlier presentations. But kindergartners need a balance of child-initiated play in the presence of an engaged teacher and more focus on experiential learning guided by the teachers. So as the students are playing, the teacher is engaged in overseeing the conversation and facilitating that play. It's just not the kids going off on their own. In an ideal classroom, children are engaged in taking the initiative to take what they learn and then apply it through the learning that we're affording them in these special opportunities. And in reclaiming questions about the theory and practice, we know that children learn best not by sitting still, but actively engaged and through conversations, not only with their peers, but obviously the teacher as well, and the dialogue concerning these experiences that they have in their learning process. Through that play-based learning, the students will actually be using manipulatives, and it'll create a multisensory experience for them, and the learning will go deeper. It'll actually bring it to life for the learner themselves. Play is an important vehicle to promote the language and cognition, social competency, and self-regulation. Full-day kindergarten gives us the time to incorporate the play that our current half-day program doesn't allow. Now I'm going to call Kelly DeMillion up, and she'll talk about the kindergarten visits that we went to where they are currently having full-day programs.
Okay. Do I need to use this clicker?
Yeah, the bottom arrow will move it forward.
Bottom arrow. I know what bottom is. Got kindergarten. Look at that. That's pretty amazing. We've done 2 on-site visits so far. Westchester Area School District, we visited there, and you'll see pictures later on of what that looked like. Kennett Consolidated was also visited, I think, last week. And then we're going to go see Radnor Township next on Monday. We wanted to get that in this week, but there were some conflicts with their timing. So we're going next week to see what it looks like in school districts that have implemented full-day kindergarten. What did we see when we were there? Well, full-time kindergarten allows time for these tiny children to build the 21st century skills that they will need. Critical thinking, the 6 C's, critical thinking, communication, collaboration, creating, from in the academic areas, content, confidence. All those skills are paramount, even with 5-year-olds, and we need time to build those skills and to actually have them implement those 6 C's. It allows time for the children to plan, develop, and practice social skills. And it is crucial that the teacher is engaged with that play and facilitating that play. So, for example, I go out to recess with my kindergartners twice a day, once in the morning and once in the afternoon. I am supervising that play, but I'm not structuring that play. That would be different than purposeful play. It's a very different meaning of the word play. So I think my favorite quote, and parents have seen this for years and years on their activity calendar that I send home every year. I put at the top of the activity calendar that I send home every month. Fred Rogers, you all know Mr. Rogers, and the best, right? He knew children, and I feel like we kindergarten teachers know children. So this is my header every year to explain to parents what I see as what is critical to children, because parents will ask me, what do I need to do to make my child a successful learner in Great Valley School District? Right there, purposeful play. Play is often talked about as if it were a relief from serious learning. But for children, play is serious learning. That's their work. Play is really the work of childhood. So we can't underestimate the power of purposeful play. So I'm going to leave you with Fred Rogers, and I'll turn it over. I can push the button.
Kelly, before you go, can I ask a couple questions of the kindergarten teacher that just gave me 3 slides? Just a couple questions.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
So the purposeful play, actually, I'm seeing how it fits in with the critical thinking piece.
Correct.
How many of our kindergartners, and that critical thinking piece I consider to be socially ready. Kids that are socially ready have that somewhat critical thinking piece. How many of our kids already come in to kindergarten socially ready?
Well, you know, I can't say that I could tease out, you know, we do a screening coming in, socially ready. Honestly, I think that our program needs to allow for enrichment of those
Right.
kids that already have maybe some of those foundational skills, but we also need to allow time for remediation for those kids that might have been a little bit further behind. Let's say they didn't go to a preschool, and all the children, whether they are not quite ready or they already have strong foundational skills, right in the middle, they need that opportunity for those 6 C's, the critical thinking, the communication, the collaboration. And the best way, in my opinion, to offer that is through purposeful play. That's where it's really going to resonate with 5-year-olds, not through worksheets, not through skill and drill.
And just one more question, and this is more or less like your opinion. What would be the benefit? First off, let me say, I really look a lot into everything we do here
Sure.
as a board member. Kindergarten to me is a big thing. I guess my question is, if all of our children came to us on the same social level, and our kindergarten program is freaking phenomenal, okay? It has always been. It's a jewel in our crown. But if all of our children came to us, at least on the same somewhat socially ready level, how much of a benefit would that be to the entire cohesive kindergarten group?
Well, hopefully I understand your question correctly, but the children don't come into us on an equal playing field, academically or socially. We've got this giant umbrella. Some children academically maybe come in knowing how to read, and some children come in that don't know the letters in their name. You're also going to have children that are skilled at sharing. Not that many, but no, but you've got children who also socially, they're doing parallel play versus, engaged play with peers. So I hope I'm understanding your question correctly, but they're not all coming to us socially or academically on the same playing field, on the same level. It's this giant umbrella. And I think the benefit would be afforded to all levels for social skills because you have the greatest benefit, in my opinion, since you asked, would be the time. You have time to remediate those children that need the extra skill, and you have time to enrich those that are already solid, but you want to keep them growing as well.
Thank you. Great answers.
But whether they come to you in kindergarten or come to you in first grade, you're still gonna have that big spectrum of children, right? The goal in kindergarten is just to try to bring them up to a more common level each step of the way, right? I mean,
Correct.
kindergarten does a little more, first grade's gonna do a little more,
But-
second grade,
correct,
right? Where
absolutely
right now it's only a
correct.
half day, and that's just, we
That's
could go further with the
that's
full day.
your
Right.
big
Because, I mean,
statement. Honestly, we have 3 hours, and we're going to
Yeah.
be talking about that
Right,
later.
because
We
some
have
kids are
3
gonna come into kindergarten knowing the alphabet.
Sure,
Some
absolutely.
might even know how to read, right? And
Sure.
others aren't gonna know what an A even looks like,
Right.
right? And
Right.
the goal is to start
Right.
preparing them, so when they do get to first grade, they can start learning.
Right.
Right.
So you will always have that, the range. It's that 3 hours, and in that 3 hours, we have to have a 45-minute special or prep, half an hour prep, recess, snack. So it looks like 3 hours, and it is not 3 hours, unfortunately. unfortunately. So that's, I hope I answered your questions. Okay, thank you.
Hello, I'm Kim Colvin, I'm at Sugartown. I had the pleasure, and thank you for allowing us to go visit them schools. I got to see 4 schools in Westchester. I saw probably 12 classrooms, maybe even more, in the 4 different schools. This is a sampling of pictures of what I saw, and it was amazing. It was truly amazing to see the kids engaged in purposeful, meaningful, applying what they learned in Reader's Workshop. For example, the top picture that says phonetics and writing, you know, we teach the letters and the sounds. Some kids can write their names, some kids can't, they're sounding things out. That little boy was taking orders in the hot chocolate shop, so he was sounding out his friends' names. He was applying those letters that I had been teaching, or that the teacher had been teaching, to apply them, put them together. The bottom one, that's the hot chocolate shop again. They made their own menu. And I mean, if you look at how gingerbread men is spelled, like, I think it's hysterical, but it's so meaningful. Like, they took what they learned and applied it. They also made up their money amounts for the hot chocolate. So the $5 cup of hot chocolate, they also took credit cards. Like, they were like, I'll take plastic. I was like, oh, okay, good. But it was great because they were able to use the math part too. So they were writing their numbers, they were practicing their numbers. They had and they created their own money. So they were using play money that they had made. So that was practicing their fine motor skills, the cutting and the drawing and cutting and coloring things. So they were using that money to trade for hot chocolate. Also in the hot chocolate, they had the little brown Unifix cubes. So like the hot chocolate, you needed 8 Unifix cubes and 4 marshmallows, 4 cotton balls to make it. So they were doing that one-to-one correspondence. I teach one-to-one correspondence and counting all the time. My kids in my half day don't have the time to apply it in that way. And to make that, I mean, they were having a blast with cubes and cotton balls to make hot chocolate. Then they turned it to their friend and they said, okay, now you're the cashier, you're selling it. And that kid was asking me, okay, well, it's $4 and I'm, you know, scrounging to get money. So they really did pull in all of the different things. The middle picture there is a poem that the teacher had been using that week to practice their sight words in that shared reading experience. Well, it happened to be about the hot cocoa. So it was tying in that whole, you know, the hot chocolate purposeful play center with other academic areas. You see the reading environmental print. That was the order form to order things at the cookie center. The conversation, the social skills that were happening while they were playing in the play kitchen to make the hot chocolate, to do the things. It was just so amazing to see in that half hour of purposeful play that they got every day. And then this center's there for a few weeks, and listening to the teachers, they're constantly building on it and adding on to it. In addition, besides the dramatic corner, they had other things. They had, you know, games with rules that the teachers were engaged in teaching them how to play those games with rules. So, I mean, isn't that what we're looking for as we're making these little people? You know, we want them to be able to participate as a whole, and that's what the time of full day allows. This is just, like I said, a snapshot of how they were using that play to learn and to come to life. In the classrooms that I saw, in the 2 days that I got to visit, I did not hear one disagreement of kids fighting over who was getting what. The communication and problem solving that had been built since September when they started, when I got to see them in January, I mean, it was like, they were like, okay, it's, you know, it's time. And, you know, some kids chose to go to the dramatic corner and some kids were choosing to do the building. And another set was building, they had little polar animals and they were making Arctic habitats because they had learned in another area, they had been reading about Arctic animals, so they were able to do it. And it was just, I mean, there was no arguments. They were able to use their communication skills. And it was an amazing thing to see. And I would love to see that come to Great Valley because I think it's what our kids need and what they deserve.
So I have a question for you too. Is it what our kids need or is it what all kids need?
It's what all kids need. It's absolutely what all kids need.
Because I have to tell you, I'm a flag waver for our program. You guys have a great program for kindergarten. And it's helpful for me as a board member. Mm-hmm. to realize that our program is already great, but what you're saying really makes our program a different program. And that's a wonderful thing, adding that piece
It
with
would
the,
absolutely
with
make our
the
program-
critical thinking piece and the play and whatnot. So I never thought it would be possible to make our great program greater. But there's a lot of good stuff right there on
There's a
that
lot
slide.
of really good stuff.
Thank you all for going and putting that time in, because I know it takes a lot of time to do that kind of research. I'm appreciative. Anybody else have questions? Now's the time.
One thing really quickly.
Got it,
Can't go too
sorry.
quickly. Okay, so going along with play-based, I'm Jess Prashchuk, I teach at Charlestown. I'm excited to be here, so thank you for having us. I'm not that excited. So looking at the, oh great, I have a babysitter at home. So looking at the play-based schedule along with our content areas, we really felt it was important to consider how much time we're spending teaching our students our curriculum right now, and how much time is being spent in different programs in our community area. So I'm just going to give you a few moments just to take a look at that, and I can explain a little bit about what it looks like in our classrooms at Great Valley. So if you look at math and language arts, and we of course touched on this, and I do agree, Great Valley's program in kindergarten is amazing. I absolutely love teaching here. Chris knows it, I tell him all the time. I've been elsewhere and Great Valley is amazing. In math, we have about 30 minutes per day, which is allotted to us, but of course if you consider transition times, getting the kids seated, getting supplies ready, it really cuts into our time. Providing a full day program to our students would allow the children to be able to explore with the teacher as well as explore together on the same day. A lot of times I find myself in math teaching the lesson on day one, and day two is the exploration. So there is a disconnect there, and I feel like having a full day would provide the students the time to be able to connect those pieces and work through the mathematics independently or with a partner, which is a lot of the Singapore math's basis of understanding. If you look in language arts, 80 minutes seems like a huge chunk of time. But again, when you have kindergartners transitioning, you're going from reading workshop to writing workshop, and you're trying to slide in guided reading and all of the other things that come within our programming, it's really challenging to get all of those things in with the needs that we have. I found at Charlestown it's so amazing to see students coming in to read, as well as students who are still working on their name. And having so much more time within a full day program would allow the teacher to differentiate so much more effectively and provide students every day with the needs that they have. Science and social studies, there's an asterisk there. We've allotted the time within language arts to do science and social studies. Having a full day program would allow the kids to explore much more in the classroom rather than incorporating it into our read aloud and the time that we designate for reading workshop time. Special areas, of course, is varied throughout each district that we visited. Of course, there's 25 minutes at Kennett and 15 minutes at Westchester. I'll speak for the special area teachers, and it's tricky to get in. Those 25 minutes, man, they're quick and they are effective, but it would be so beneficial to have a 50 or 40-minute time period for the students. And then, of course, recess, which is the unstructured playtime, is really beneficial for the kids to get out there and play, but also to explore each other and to enjoy each other's company. I've said a lot of times, if you look at the minutes that we've added up here, well, where all the other minutes that incorporate the 3 hours? It's friendships, it's the love that we share with our students, and the time that we should be providing and we know is right, we're giving the time to the kids, and how much they deserve from us is really where we're showing them the little extra time and that the caring love that we so truly feel as kindergarten teachers. But we thought this would speak volumes in the fact that it would truly provide students here at Great Valley such a benefit academically as well as all the play-based learning.
I have two questions.
Sure.
So those two programs, Kennett and Westchester, I mean, there's like an hour difference total. Why? Like, is Westchester's school day that much longer, or?
Well,
Where- what-
Kennett, I actually visited Kennett, which was so cool. They had a full kindergarten center there. And what their issue was they bused students to the home school, and then they would bus those students from the home school to the kindergarten center, which cut, I think, 30 minutes in the
Gotcha.
afternoon and the morning time, which also cut into their special, which they found was an easier fit.
Yeah.
What they also did, which you may disagree or agree with, was they had a play-based classroom where the students would sign 30 minutes out per cycle, rather than have the play-based learning daily. So that significantly cut into their play-based program. I was not truly in favor of that, but of course, they made it work, which was excellent for them, but they also had 12 teachers that needed to share that individualized space. So then they had to push their math into the afternoon, which the teachers did say was challenging, but that's how they elongated their day, Westchester compared to the Kennett's full day.
So moving forward, and this is not to put you on the spot for
Go
anything
for
that's
it.
concrete.
I'm
though,
ready.
Would you envision us heading toward the Westchester type model? And I know it's not.
I would,
cast in stone.
honestly, I would hope to, because I like the fact that they had the play-based learning in the classroom. The kids could explore the lessons, whether it was math, reading, or writing. They can explore it right in their room. In Kennett, they had to leave the classroom to explore, and it disconnected it a little bit. It's almost like going to STEAM for STEAM class. It disconnects the students, it cuts your transition times, and it doesn't allow the kids to see their classroom as the play and learning room. It's really just the learning room as opposed to having both together. Does that help?
Yeah, and you brought up a good point about Kennett. I mean, the advantage we're going to have if we go to this next year is we will not have a kindergarten center.
Correct.
The kindergartens will be in the 4 elementary schools, so our
Mhm.
kids won't be spending additional time riding a bus
yeah.
versus being in a classroom,
Exactly.
getting some experience.
And just entering the
right.
room. Mhm.
Thanks.
Sure.
And that disconnect isn't there either, because there's continuity. They stay in their classrooms, everything happens there. And I think that's really a critical piece, because I am very familiar with Kennett's model. And that really concerned me. So it looks like the Westchester program doesn't have that constraint because they don't have all that extra time where they're busing.
Correct. Kim, that's
Okay,
correct.
so
Yeah.
we
Kim went
actually
there.
could do exactly what Westchester's doing, is that right?
I believe so. And Kim,
I was gonna say,
No, I mean,
It'll be better.
of course better, of course
Oh, of
better.
course.
I mean, as far as the time goes, actually, that really, when you add all the minutes up,
Our school day is actually a little bit longer than Westchester's. I remember talking with the teachers about, what time they started and stuff, but I think ours is a little bit longer. Yeah, it is.
awesome. Now, and I don't know if this would be for the teachers or for you, Regina, but so I understand that science now we put into language arts, but if we were to do the full-day kindergarten, would our intention be to split it out? Like the other 2 schools are actually doing science on its own? Or is our intention to keep it with language arts?
And actually, as luck would have it, we will have a presentation, and I believe it is next week, that will actually give a glimpse as to what Great Valley's Day would look like. So we will be sharing that, and Mrs. Morris is working with the other principals, and we'll be leading that presentation, I believe, next week.
Awesome, thank you.
I think the thing to remember too in these schedules is there's no lunch on that, so that's another part of the day. It doesn't add up to the total school day, just in
You got
case
it.
somebody gets crazy.
Right.
Settling time, dismissal time, all those things just aren't.
All the fun in our day.
This is true educational time,
Yeah,
right?
Exactly, yeah.
So if there's anything that you would want to leave this board with after your presentation, tell me what it is.
That's resting upon.
Collectively.
Is there anybody else?
You got the last slide, baby.
And listen, I know we have other kindergarten teachers here, so it would really be beneficial to me. Take your best shot. Tell me what it is you want me to know about why this is good.
And I do think I can speak collectively. Chuck, are you okay? Collectively for our group. We are desperate for the gift of time for these little ones. I feel like I follow them onto the school bus at the end of the day saying, wait, I'm not done, right?
Careful.
Oh, yeah, I don't want to go. Yeah. The gift of time. It's the greatest thing that can be given, I think, even as parents. You know, as parents, I have 2 children, and I know the greatest thing I can spend on my children is my time. And the best thing I can give to my kindergarten children is my time. So I think that would be the unifying statement. Simple but true, gift of time, and that's what full-day kindergarten would allow. And we're all passionate about it, so that would be it. Honestly, that sums everything up. All those slides.
Well, I like the answer. Thank you.
We hear your passion, and we know your passion's great because we have a great program now and great opportunity. So thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, let's start that guy off.
I just want to say thanks, teachers, administrators, all administrators and teachers. I know a lot of time went into your preparation, and I know that time really extended into your anxiety and your nervousness even for being here tonight. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. Thank you.
I'd love to chime in with really a question for my board colleagues. Thank you all for the presentation tonight and all the work that's gone into this. And I'd love for us to begin a dialogue perhaps tonight, or maybe just leave everyone with some thoughts to think about until we meet again next time. And that is that let's presume for a moment that, taken absent other considerations, we all believe that this is a valuable investment for our district. I want to begin thinking ahead to how we think about valuable investments in this district as it relates to our overall budget, things that we know are coming down the pike that are going to impact that budget. Jen has said it before, she's not here to say it again. We have a tremendous facilities need for investment over the next few years. We know that our community is growing. We know that our buildings are growing, or the need for space in our buildings is growing. And I want to have an ongoing dialogue about how we consider where and how we consider additional and growing investments. Because I think there's probably a lot more than just full-day kindergarten that could be a compelling case to say this would be a fantastic addition for our
So do you want to
educational
start out?
community.
Because I would love to start that conversation now, because this decision needs to be made
Yeah.
for this year soon. So what are your thoughts?
I listen to our budget presentation and sit in our facilities meetings and listen to our community's feedback about growth and space in our schools, and I'm concerned about a growing budget in a time of significant economic uncertainty. And I just want to challenge us to make sure that we're not making a decision about a single factor without considering all of the others that would impact it.
That's a good point, because in addition to maintenance that facilities committee keeps talking about, all the things that need to be done, whether it's new roofs or whatever. I mean, if we need to build, whether it's additions or a new facility, we're going to look at financing and debt services. So every year, we got rid of $4.5 million worth of debt payments annually not too long ago. And you're right. If we do this building down the road of any sort, whether it's adding a few classrooms to every school or building I won't mention grades, a certain center for different grades or whatever, or a middle school or whatever, right? We're going to be adding $4 or $5 million of payments every year to our budget. And you're absolutely right. We've got to be factoring that in my opinion, to say, you know, all these $500,000, $1 million ideas all make great sense by themselves. But when you start adding them up, you start looking at the big picture, we've got to be looking at that down the road. In addition to the fact that some of the budget presentation that Chuck presented on kindergarten saying that between what we're spending now and what we may be losing to charter schools, this may be a money saver for us. That's a factor. That's
Yep.
an unknown factor,
Yep.
but it's still a factor too, so.
And I think certainly this board, probably absent myself and Brian and Samantha, who's not with us tonight, you've all made decisions about big investments, I think about the technology program, that have been a choice to invest in the student body that everybody felt like was a worthwhile investment in the student body. I just want to make sure that, given that this is my first time sort of going through making this type of a significant investment and a significant change in our academic experience at Great Valley, I want to have a dialogue about it.
So I just want to get my feelings out in public. So I actually feel like kindergarten is more important, like if we had to rank importance of things, more important than pretty much anything that we can do. I feel like there's a cascade effect that comes into play, and I feel like more mathematical literacy and just general literacy, like, you know, reading, writing, will kind of cascade down, or up, as the case may be. So if I were to rank, for example, the one-to-one initiative versus full-day kindergarten, I would actually be more in favor of full-day kindergarten, because I think that we can do the teaching without the one-to-one, but I do think that the whole gift of time idea, and you know, I'm in a position where I have 4 kids, I forgot one. Never gonna live this down, 4 kids, 3 kids in Great Valley.
Steph, we all have one we want to forget about, so it's okay.
That would be Jack, age 4. So I am directly impacted from this, just as putting it out there. I have a girl, Kate, who's currently in kindergarten. I have Jack, who's 4 years old and might be eligible if he were. For me, you know, it's not about thinking that this is an extended recess or a place to dump my kids so that I can, you know, go eat bonbons. When I think about it, just the fact that I do, in my heart, know how much more they will be able to do being trained teachers and masters of their craft. To see how much Kate has come in only a few months with Mrs. DeMillion, and I mean, it's not Mrs. DeMillion special, but it's not just her, it's every single teacher in there. You know, when they're able to have her do things that I've tried to do on my own at home, and I don't have those skills or that aptitude to teach in that way, like they're able to find out, well, she's not learning this way, so I'm going to approach it a different way, and to have, you know, double the time to work with her. And all the kids, and identify the kids that need extra help. I mean, I'm also in a situation where I have a kid in 4th grade and 6th grade. And by 6th grade, I can tell you that there's a huge disparity between the kids who find reading really easy and the kids who don't. So some kids are whizzing through homework in what seems like a few minutes, and other kids are really struggling harder because they're struggling with understanding the words in what they're reading, and it makes it so much harder. So if there's any way to have kids be better readers, I just think that, yeah, it's going to take years to actually see it pay off. But I really, like, to me, it's common sense that if you're a better reader, then your whole career in the rest of your life is going to be easier. And people think, okay, well, you know, $500,000, wouldn't it be better invested in this or this or this? And, you know, you can always make arguments. I'm a strong believer in languages. Like, I really wish we had languages, but honestly, if I were to judge what I think the most important thing, it's going to be on kindergarten, because it's all about that time, getting kids while they're young, flexible, and then having that be a good foundation to grow upon. From an equity perspective, I think that Great Valley, one of the reasons why we choose to live here is because it's so diverse. Financially, economically, you know, any way you look at it, culturally, we have this amazing community here. And some kids come in with, you know, with parents who work very closely with them, others who don't. It's no indication of whether or not the kids are smart or not. It's just how much, you know, how much time they've had spent on them. And I feel like this is one way to help everybody, you know, because it's not just going to be helping the kids who haven't had that much help. It's going to be helping the kids who have gotten help even go further. I mean, we're big on this whole differentiated learning. And I think that the kindergartner teachers can do it. They need more time to work with the different kids. So, I mean, from what I've seen and what I understand, and also just what I feel in my gut, I feel like it's the right thing to support full-day kindergarten. I'm willing to have an open mind until the actual vote. I mean, if something comes along the pike and, you know, we have a roof cave in, I reserve the right to change my opinion. knock on wood, no snowstorms, but.
That would be a sinkhole.
But it just, I mean, everything that I've seen, the trends in other states that are leading educationally, like Massachusetts, I just think that the greater literacy and the greater social skills, the better these kids are going to do long term. But that's my thoughts, just putting it out there, so convince me otherwise if y'all feel that way.
Amy, to kind of address what you're saying, I don't doubt that there will be many accrued benefits if we go with a full-day program. I think that it will have a ripple effect throughout the district, and in 12 years, or 13 years, when the first class that has had full-day kindergarten is graduating, there won't even be that question of, is it the right thing to do? But economically, I'm on the same page as you. I do worry. It is a large investment, and are there other things that, or other needs that we're not addressing? You know, as you said, as we are growing, and our demographics are growing, our construction is like wildfire in East Whiteland especially, and I know that that comes with a lot of mixed emotion in the community. Which I guess is a good thing, that people want to be here because they know how good the schools are and they know what a welcoming community that it is. And you want, but you want there to be a continuum in respect of the history of this area, you know, all the wonderful geographic things that, and history that has been part of this community for a couple centuries now. I do worry that, you know, are there other sectors of our population, our school population, that might have needs that we're not recognizing at this moment? And I think the administration does a phenomenal job of keeping us apprised of those needs. But will there be something? Is there going to be need for more emotional support, more student services that might come at a higher price tag? And then, you know, most especially, I do worry about the capital projects. And again, that's something that's fraught with a lot of emotion within not only our own perspectives of it, but in the community. I think we're never going to find a panacea. I don't think we're going to find a one-size-fits-all. I think you're going to have just as many parents who say, I don't feel that my child needs full-day kindergarten, or I don't like the notion of it. I still want that time with them at home. And I think they're going to have just as many parents who say, I'm all for it. I want my child to have that richness of experience. I do worry about children who might not emotionally or developmentally be ready for a full day of kindergarten, and how we're going to address those needs. You know, if you have someone who just is not ready to be part of that and be engaged in the process all day long, what does it look like? How are we making sure that they are engaged and that their needs are met? So those are my thoughts.
Yep. So I think Steph touched upon a lot of the educational reasons why, and I agree with all those reasons. For me, I look at a lot of the types of investments we make. We have investments in buildings, we have investments in curriculum, in projects like the one-to-one. We don't have a lot of investments which have the potential of saving us money with a return. And I mean, what Chuck presented last week really, I think to me, really shows that we're going to be saving money by doing this 3-4 years down the line. And I think if it's beneficial for the kids, and it's going to, in a $400K investment now, make us break even in a few years and then possibly make us money, I think that's just, it seems like a win-win.
So if I could just add something. A lot of times when we have decisions to make, I often think, geez, you know, I have to make this decision, and it sounds really familiar, like the one that says, should I have kids? So, you know, everything's about time.
I can answer that. Don't do it.
Yeah, right, because I'll have 4 and think I have 3.
If you want to try it out, let me know. Again.
But it's like, you know, anything else. My dad said to me, look, you know what? If everybody waited until the right time to have kids, no one would ever have kids. of course, we want to look at everything, and we do. Chuck does a great job giving us everything we need on a 5-year plan. Would it be great if we had a crystal ball and Chuck and we could look at things on a 20-year plan? It would be great, but it doesn't happen. But here's why I really believe this to be a value. And it's my opinion based on all the data and evidence that all of these people have brought to me. I think that Chuck has made, from the financial standpoint, a compelling argument that if we don't do this, if we're ever going to do this and we don't do it in the next 3 to 5 years, it's likely to cost us money. Although for me, that is not me. I mean, I'm right on with the financial piece, but that's not what drives my decision. What drives my decision is on that wall. And, you know, when I sat and interviewed the last superintendent, which is our superintendent, what was important to me was to move this district to the next level. Educationally, this district is phenomenal. And we all know, no matter what career we're in, it takes so much more work to go this far when you're this far from the top than it does to go from the bottom up. To me, the next level is to give our children the things that I truly believe this world is lacking. It's the piece that teaches critical thinking skills. It's the pieces that teach these children how to adapt, how to get along, how to communicate, all the C's that Kelly read up there. To me, when I look at what do these kids need to be successful, to be lifelong learners, it all starts there for me. It's that piece. Great Valley, for me, educationally, we are already, in my opinion, the leader in this county and in the top 30% in this state. So educationally, we know what we're doing. The world forces us to look at that piece or not look at that piece. And it's that piece that we can be great at that is what's going to move this district. So for me, it's not about the money. It is truly about the bigger picture as to what is valuable, what can we give our children, and the better foundation that we can give them and the ones that really need it. It has a trickle-up effect. It goes up. It doesn't come down. So everyone is going to benefit. And over 5 and 6 and 7 years down the line, everybody is going to start in this district. So I struggled in the beginning thinking, this is only going to affect a certain number of kids, and I have over 4,000 kids. But the reality is, it's going to affect them all. It's just going to take time. So for me, again, I really think this does move our district and our children. It gives our children things that only 2 other districts that I'm seeing up there are giving. And we're Great Valley, and we're going to do it the best in this county. I know it, because we have the administration in place to do it. I hope that helps you and any of us that are struggling. I'm so grateful to this board to have had this discussion, because it really filled in a lot of gaps for me as to where we're coming from and what we're thinking and what's important to each of us. So I appreciate it. Anybody else?
But I think it's important that because we are missing 3 board members for really good reasons, to just be open to having a communication. And if like, I am open to changing my mind. I mean, I feel like I know in my gut what I believe now, but until I actually vote, please try to change my mind, because I'm not here stuck in a rock.
And to be clear, I didn't initiate this conversation to try and talk anyone into or out of anything, but rather to encourage this board to have multidimensional conversations about things that happen over here that impact things over here, and make sure that we are considering
Right.
all of the implications before making a decision.
One of my greatest frustrations was when I used to sit out in the seats, the cheap seats out there, which probably are not so cheap. But hear people up here make decisions and have absolutely no idea what went into those decisions. And before the vote, I had no idea where people stood. And that used to drive me crazy because I'm like, if you're making this huge decision, which is going to impact my kids, at least say why you're voting that way. So I'm trying to be open and, saying why I believe. And, we don't all have to do that, but that's where I'm coming from, just to put it out there. And also because sometimes when board members do say stuff, I'm like, oh, I didn't think of that, or, oh, I didn't consider that. There's concrete cracked, and
That's a
we're gonna
great
have a
point.
lawsuit if we don't spend $1 million fixing the
If we
concrete.
came to a decision one way or the other and there was a discussion we could have had that could have enriched a decision-making process, that's the miss that I want to avoid.
But, just remember, it's all of our prerogatives to just vote and not say a word. I'm not advocating that. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying there's nothing in the rules of the law or anything that says we have to express
But I think
why.
we
So
can do
just-
better.
Yeah, I'm not,
So
this is great discussion. We're gonna have more discussion. We have 2 more meetings, right? We're gonna have work sessions. Hopefully have some more discussion, and 3 others will be here to hear it, and hopefully they can watch this discussion on
And also,
GGTV.
I'm not running for reelection, so I have absolutely nothing to lose. So it's all hanging out now.
You have a kid you have to find, that's what you have to lose.
I want to thank you all for sharing your thinking.
So, and then we'll have a voting meeting too, so there's still 2 more meetings for plenty of discussion. So go ahead real quick.
But I was just going to say, I want to thank everybody for sharing their thinking,
Yeah.
because I make better decisions with more information, so I appreciate.
So I'll ask this question to the 5 of you, 6 of us. Is there any question you want to ask the administration that you want answered? Not tonight, but.
Are there any capital projects which have to do with safety that would be compromised if we spent the money on full-day kindergarten?
I can tell you as far as our safety initiative, we started our safety committee.
I should have said like safety or finances. I'm thinking both safety from like that perspective, and also safety as in broken concrete.
I can tell you,
Like
and
gun
Jeff will
safety
speak a
or,
little more to the facilities, because I believe we have our facilities committee meeting next week. Tomorrow night. It's next day. But as far as the safety is concerned, if you remember, we applied and received the grant, which Dr. Wexler is overseeing with the safety as it relates to mental health components. And we also applied for another grant as the safety is concerned. And then with the facilities, as you'll hear more tomorrow night if you're choosing to.
We'll go into that tomorrow night with facilities, and we'll go into that the next meeting. I don't want to kind of give the plot line away, but rest assured that in the safety issue, with Regina, we can never spend enough on safety. We will always want to spend more on safety, but in that same realm, we are light years ahead of most districts in safety and security. Will I tell you where? No, because we're not going to tell you that.
That's part of the safety thing. That's why we've already compared ourselves with other entities, districts, and we are. And we employ great safety officers. We do. He does a great job and keeps us on top. If it was up to him, the entire budget would go to safety. But as far as facilities, you are in the basic clay design of this facilities plan when you hire the architects next month to do the feasibility study, which is kind of why it's crucial that you make a decision now, because that will impact what either you do or don't in the facility study. How that will impact the cost of the study is totally up to you in the long run. The short run is if you do nothing to the facilities, we're not changing anything in that plan right now. Based on there being yes or no for kindergarten, will not change the facilities plan, period. Right, but if we get down the road, we decide we can't afford to expand our buildings because we've spent our money elsewhere, not just on kindergarten, but whatever else, then we're looking at larger class sizes. We've got to all keep that in mind. Yeah, because the trade-off is we either have more classrooms and keep the classroom sizes the same size as this district grows, or we stay the same size building-wise and we add more people to the classes, right? And let me remind you that the only reason this doesn't affect your facilities right now is you have a classroom in every building dedicated to Warwick.
So one way or another, you're going to use the exact same amount of classrooms next year, whether you go full-day kindergarten or whether you don't. So if I was you, I would take the Warwick or the full-day kindergarten out of the realm of the construction, because if you do half-day kindergarten, then you're going to have to plan on a Warwick classroom in every building. If you do full-day kindergarten, you don't have to, so it's the same. So facilities, and is it exactly the same? Of course not, but it's on a 50,000-foot level, it's the same.
But we wouldn't have to do Warwick in the building, right? Aren't there other schools that, bus kids to a different facility? I agree, it makes sense, it's safer for the kids.
You wouldn't have to, but that's
Okay,
another
okay,
whole
just-
discussion. You
I'm
want to do
just
that one,
saying-
then let me tell you
I'm just
what
saying,
you'll do here.
it's much more attractive to
It's not
have
required,
a
yes.
facility in it, but it could be done.
But just to be super clear, and check me if I'm wrong, all else equal, if we weren't talking about kindergarten and we weren't talking about building a new building, to keep these buildings safe and operational, and by safe, I don't mean like security, I mean like
Heat on.
like heat on, no mold in the walls, like significant investments are gonna have to be made by this district just to upkeep the facilities that we have, absent any additional decision. So we can't be surprised come budget season when we're looking at what the investments in our infrastructure are gonna be. They're gonna be there independent of this decision, so just make sure everybody knows that.
And my point was, they're not going to change based on whatever decision you make.
So can I just ask?
Well, there's more to discuss.
There is more to discuss, but I'm trying to be at a really high level. You want to get down to a really low level, yeah, there's going to be some changes, whatever you decide, but on a really high level, assuming enrollment stayed the same, which it won't, but assuming you're going to do what, you have the classroom space, and you're going to have to fix whatever you're going to fix. Whatever you need to fix is going to have to be fixed. That's just, right.
And we're planning on that.
And we're planning on that. And some of the stuff will get rolled out of the plan, depending on what the feasibility study does, and rolled into a larger project. And some additional stuff may get rolled into the plan, depending on what the building.
But the other unknown, when we talk about safety, is the program that rolled out last week is an unknown of how much.
Safe to say.
Safe to say, how many resources that may be required down the road, right? Because it's a brand new program. Hopefully, we don't have a lot of need, but it's an unknown, right? We could have, what I think we said last week, 1 a day is what we expect. It could be 10 a day all of a sudden, and now we need a resource just to handle that. Right, because it's not something we can ignore. So that's another, it's indirectly safety because it could be safety related. It could just be a personal child safety related. It could be anything, right?
And our goal is to be prudently responsible in our planning, understanding that with the best laid plans, events can happen that can greatly impact, positively and negatively, our budget and our spending. And we have to be willing to acknowledge that, the volatility of that, but plan in the best way we can.
So can I ask Chuck a question?
Why not?
You're still on the clock, right? So Chuck, we had this conversation. Yeah, I know. We had this conversation some 6 months ago from the board table that we know we didn't do what we should have done last year and the year before in facilities. We took a lot of those number 1 projects and we made them number 3 projects, and now they're number 1 projects. But we already have, you're already budgeting in the budget money to do repairs and maintenance and whatnot in accordance with the priorities on those lists, right? So that's not going to change whether we do or not do full-day kindergarten.
Well, we are and we aren't. If you look at the budget closely, it shows that we are spending away our reserves.
Yeah, what I said
We're chipping
last
away
week-
at it.
What I said last week is if I had 38 years of service in 2011, I would have dug my heels in and not let you spend or had you contribute more to the capital reserve fund back then instead of blatantly drain it like it was your pool at the end of summer. Well, and again, here's another. Well, it just kind of went down to nothing, and it's down there. We do have budgeted enough to cover every year, and we have a very small kind of cushion. You know, our hope is to increase that a little bit for next year, because quite frankly, you can't go much lower than this. I mean, you know, in the limbo, there's only how low can you go, and you're about at it. So, I'm full of them, and I was going to ask you, right now, we are like a machine gunner on a battlefield trying to answer all your questions, and I'm just kind of rattling off things, sweeping the machine gun back and forth.
Can you come back after you retire with color commentary? Like, seriously? Yeah.
I'm practicing because I'm thinking
we get stand up.
coach just like everybody else.
I think that's enough discussion for tonight.
Yeah, and
Open the dialogue, and
lots of good info.
we're going to have a lot more discussion in the 2 meetings in February. So, unless anybody's got anything really critical they need to know, or like I said, if there's any question you want to ask that they can answer next time. Seeing none at this point. I know you have a handful of them already. So, all right. So we're going to move on to the voting part of the agenda. So if there's anybody in the public who would like to come to the podium and comment on anything that's being voted on tonight, come to the podium, state your name and residency, and please limit your time to 3 minutes for fairness to others. And at the end, we'll have another public comment section for any other items that you wish to comment on. All right, seeing no one at this point, first thing up is consent agenda items. Do I have a motion for approval for consent agenda items 701 through 715?
Move to approve 701 to 7.05.
7.15.
15, I'm sorry.
All right, a motion, a second. Any questions on any of these? I think we went through them pretty thoroughly last time. All right, all those in favor? All right, the motion passes, my number's right, 6-0. Next up is the financial approvals. I think we have to do the Act 1 resolution first. So do I have let me get the verbiage right here. Motion to approve the accelerated budget opt-out resolution certifying tax rate within the inflation index and no need to comply with the Act 1 accelerated budget procedures for the 2019-20 school year. That's all I was going to read.
Move to approve the opt-out resolution.
Second.
Motion and a second. So this is to approve that we will stay within the Act 1 index, not apply for exceptions, and that we will follow the said budget that associates with that. That's what this all boils down to. Any questions? All those in favor? Motion passes 6-0. All right. We have 3 other agreements under financial approvals. I believe we can take them all at once. So if I have a motion for approval of 802 through 804.
Move to approve 802 to 804.
Second. Motion and second. Any question on any of these? All right. All those in favor? Motion passes 6-0. Next up is personnel items.
Move to approve 9.01.
Any questions?
I have to abstain for this one. My wife's a teacher on it.
All right. All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0 with 1 abstention. Policy approvals for the first readings are there, so there's no vote on these. They're just there for first reading. Next month will be the second reading and approvals. That's all there is on voting agenda items. Let's see, I'll reopen the podium for any public comments on any other issues. All right, seeing none. Board has a couple responses to some public comments. Excuse me. In response to comments made at the December meeting from the resident concerning his payment of real estate taxes, Mr. Linderman's department reached out to him and has reached out to him, and the issue has been taken care of. Last week, we had a public comment. In response to that comment, made at our last school board meeting, the board would like to respond by clarifying that it never speaks specifically about a child's educational program in a public meeting. Often circumstances related to the program are much more complicated than they may seem. We are committed to protecting and preserving the student's right to privacy. That said, we have the utmost confidence that the administrative team has kept us informed and they have addressed the concerns related to the student's educational needs and programs in the most lawful and appropriate way possible. All right, any other board comments? All right, motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second? All those in favor? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.